Hey! And fat guy's wearing a striped shirt. What's up? We have the XH1. While I open up my iPad here. I thought I'd take a day off yesterday. It's like, I'm gonna rest for a day. Because I work 7 days a week. And no, nature said that wasn't possible. My refrigerator broke. I had to throw away, apparently been broken for nearly 24 hours. And so I had to throw away a bunch of food, which was always wonderful since it's just basically throwing money away in the garbage can. Then I went to Lowe's, and then I got a, this has been too many bills this month, property taxes and whatnot, and I signed up for a Lowe's card, and I don't believe in credit card debt, but then I bought a refrigerator, and I've been trying to heal my arm since pulling it out from hauling heavy water jugs about a month and a half ago. So I hauled a refrigerator and pulled my arm out again. So I didn't get a chance. It's the reason why I didn't post any videos yesterday either. So sorry about that. Humble apologies. This is what the world tells you is going to happen. It's like, you can't take a day off. No, that's all right. Also, too, this is what happens when you buy stuff that is designed around the evil premise of planned obsolescence. So, yes, let's talk about the Fujifilm XS10, which we have here. And this camera actually turned out to be shocking. I mean that literally, and I'll talk about why it's shocking. But what if? What is this camera? I'll actually get to one of the last points first. What if the X-T4 with its IBIS mech and its fully articulating display had a love child with the XH1 and its nearly perfect ergonomics, and it's a great little AF on button. By the way, there is an AF on button also too, and not a great location on the X-T4. It's in a much better location on the XS10 than it is even so on the X-T4. Yeah, it's the love child of the X-T4 and the XH1, and because it has the fully articulating display and the IBIS of the X-T4. It has 6 stops versus 6.5 stops on the X-T4 for depending on the lens. Lens combo, OIS, and IBIS work in conjunction on Fujifilm systems. And of course, once again, the great ergos of the XH1. So that is what this camera is. It's a few other things. I only found one negative on this camera, and it's not really a negative. Right now I have the 23mm 1.4. And as I mentioned to you before, the reason why there is this nice, great grip on this camera is because the IBIS mech does take up more room inside of the camera, and the battery is sitting perpendicular to the camera body, unlike that of the XT30 and the XT20 do. Single card slot, obviously so. But a fully articulating display. By the way, as I've also mentioned before, and this is an important point, the fully articulating displays, since they don't use a slit in the rear of the magnesium body of the camera, they are a lot more sealed against short-term pervasive. By the way, there's no such thing as a weather-sealed camera, and I take cameras apart. I know what people and companies call weather sealing, but no camera is weather sealed, and the reason for that is 98% of all cameras bite the big one due to long-term infiltration of humidity, causing corrosion on the main board, sometimes other places depending on the camera system. That's what cameras die from. They don't die, well, about 2 or 3% do, from somebody being incredibly unintelligent and going out in a rainstorm and my camera is sealed to whatever extent, and water seeps in around the dials. That's not actually what most cameras die from, and that's a really, really important point. By the way, as an owner of the XT30, which I actually sold off to my rich buddy, the only reason I sold it off is because I just had too many Fujifilm cameras. The XS10 is about 20% more robust, than I can easily say that accurately, definitively, and objectively, and empirically so, than that of the XT30. It actually is. I don't know what they upped their game on the XS10 over that of the XT30, which is plenty enough robust. And of course this camera is $1,000. And I know what you're going to ask me, because right now the XT3 is on sale for something like $500 off, and it is the exact same price as this camera. I don't know how long that sale is going to go on for. It doesn't have the extremely nice ergos, nor the IBIS mech, nor the fully articulating screen of the XS10, but it does have more options for broader spectrum of use because of the capabilities that it does have. So for the same price, and like I said, I don't know how long that sale is going to go on for, that's something that you need to weigh yourself subjectively so far as which one to get. And I take camera reviews very seriously, and also to lens reviews. And I don't sell anything, have any affiliate links. I want someone to buy what makes them happy and fulfills the needs of what they want, because that's the only thing that is a good review. Not only that, but someone that actually has the wherewithal and the spectrum of use of various other equivalent cameras that they can actually make, compared to what? Which should be my motto on a t-shirt, compared to what? But I actually found this camera quite shocking, and I'll talk about that very, very quickly here and not make this a long-winded camera review. I have been testing the hell out of the XS10 now for the past many days. The only negative on this camera, it does have an extremely stiff on-off switch. Extremely stiff? No, I don't actually really consider that to be a negative. It's more of being whiny maybe, but it is extremely stiff. But if it's a travel camera, you actually have to happen to have the battery in the camera. I can see how that's actually a positive if it's in your backpack so that it doesn't accidentally get switched on. So maybe that was Fujifilm's idea. The greats on this camera are, and I mean this seriously, a lot more than I ever would have thought, because I knew what this camera was. And this camera basically is an XT40. Now it does have IBIS and it does have a completely radically different grip, but that's because there's not enough room to make it perpendicular for sticking in the battery. Like you find on the XT30 or the XT20. Even though they got the IBIS mech down, smaller size, they still had to bring the battery off perpendicular. And of course it does use the same batteries as the X Pro 3, XT30, XT20, yada yada yada, and a single card slot, of course. What's really great are the ergos. Have medium-sized hands. I mean, maybe it's the ergos are not great for you if you have super small hands or gorilla-sized hands, but I found the ergos to be absolutely awesome, even better than that of the XH1. Not by a lot, but I mean, that's really what a lot of people love about the XH1, and I'm never going to get rid of the XH1. And also, too, the silent, stealthy shutter release. Now, this does not have a stealthy mechanical shutter. However, it is significantly quieter than that on the XT30 or the XT20. The button layout I actually found incredible. Another great positive, obviously so, is the IBIS, the display, the fully articulating display, which also too can be flipped inwards, obviously so, just like that on the XT4, so you're not actually scratching the display if you want to throw it in your backpack, because I really, myself, that's just me personally, review the images through the EVF, especially if it's bright light outside. Look at the back of the LCD screen, it's not that helpful, so I can actually flip that screen inwards. The build quality, like I talked about, seems to be quite a bit more robust than even that of the XT30 and XT20 are and were. I really, really do love the touch to autofocus point selection, because you can set a quadrant like you can on the XT4. Since I shoot left eye dominant, I actually use the lower left quadrant. You can use the whole display, upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, so you can actually personalize that for autofocus point selection. So I use my thumb as I'm looking through the EVF. Even though there are not, obviously so, as many dials and buttons on the top of this camera as there is on the XT4. The combination of the assignable AF on button, AEL button, and ISO button, which I did not reassign, and the 4 up, down, left, right swipe functionality, there's more than enough functionality buttons on this to make anybody happy. I actually can't see anybody complaining. I absolutely love the large programmable pill-shaped ISO and Q buttons, which are directly behind the shutter release. I love a dedicated ISO button. I always assign one for ISO rather than even the Q menu, but that's me subjectively. Great, same BSI sensor as found in that of the XT4, backside illuminated, 26 megapixel sensor. Built-in flash, there we go. Great for 15 yards or less, face shots, personal shots, indoors. I've never been a fan for countless obvious reasons of little built-in flashes. They're great for triggering other flashes for use as slaves. But actually for a simple, as a travel camera and take candid shots and using a flash indoors to override the crummy ambient lighting, fluorescence, whatnot, actually I love a little pop-up flash. Same as you find on the XT30, of course. You actually have great placement of the AF on button. Of course, that depends on how long your fingers are, what size your hands are, obviously so, but I absolutely love the AF on button location, way better than that of even on the XT4. Perfect simplex vlogging camera. There's about IBIS functionality capability. Yeah, what is this camera? As I said, basically it is the, I was thinking about 10 things at once there, as I typically do, so apologize for that. Yeah, the love child of the XT4 and the XH1. This camera is, for all intents and purposes, despite the fact that it is called the XS10, is the XT40, obviously so. The battery is perpendicular, like I said, to make room for the IBIS mech. Basically, it's an advanced baby XH1. The je ne sais quoi and the the essence of what this camera is what I actually found shocking. The totality of what it is, combined with the terrific ergos, the IBIS, and the small size, which is great for using adapted lenses. I'm a person that uses a lot of adapted lenses and the $22 K&F adapters. Some of the best lenses that I have, even better than Fuji's lenses, are some old lenses, radioactive lenses, all sorts of weird freaky bokeh lenses, including Helios lenses like the 85mm f1.5, so on and so forth. The IBIS mech on this camera, combined with the fact that, and by the way, yes, the focus peaking on this for adapted lenses is exactly the same as found on the XT4 or the XT3. Yeah, so basically an advanced miniature XH1 with the fully articulating display, IBIS mech, terrific ergos, and greatly improved autofocus over that of the XH1. I actually, and this is a bold statement, but I mean it literally, and don't make bold statements, especially in camera reviews, at least I don't, unless I absolutely mean it emphatically. The single best travel camera or, grab and head out the door camera that I've ever had the pleasure of owning, ever. I mean that literally. The single best travel, compact, do-it-all camera. Carry a few batteries, carry a few SD cards, 2 or 3 lenses for travel. I mean, this is it. You do everything with it. Vlogging, IBIS mech, ambient low light. What the hell? Really, really nice damn camera. Like I said, it is $1,000. Like I said, it's currently the same price as a XT3 on sale. So, and you do have more functionality there with that XT3. So you need to consider that if you're thinking about buying one, since they're both the same price. Currently $1,000 versus $1,000 for the XT3 on sale. This is Fujifilm's first ever small, perfect, or some such thing as a perfect camera. I mean that in a roundabout yet specific fashion. Fujifilm's first ever small, perfect ergos camera. Realistically, other than, and I have to be honest, other than a couple more buttons, which I don't really need. I never once even had the thought of complaining about lack of functionality input on this. By the way, the joysticks is just as nice on this as it is on the XT4. Never once complained about lack of button input for this. You have the Q menu in addition to all the programmable and swipe functionality. But I mean, this is a $1,000 camera. This is not the XT4, but the XT4 doesn't have these ergos either. It's a lot larger camera. This is the camera. Of course, I'm a huge GFX fan. I always want to travel with a GFX first, but if I was going ultimate light, I take 2 or 3 lenses in this camera and a flash, and I'd be perfectly happy. First ever, once again I'm reiterating this, first ever Fujifilm small perfect ergos camera. The first ever from Fujifilm. I do rate this camera a 9 out of 10. I was actually a lot more impressed with this camera than I thought I would be, because the nature of what it is, as the love child, I say this humorously, as the love child between the X-T4 and the XH1 in miniature. Yeah, it's a baby love child between the X-T4 and the XH1. This ergos and lovability of the XH1 combined with the IBIS mech and the fully articulating screen and the greatly improved autofocus, etc., etc. This is the love child between those two cameras. Some people have said, Fujifilm's got too many damn... People, when I was saying, well, what would you like me to tell you about the XS10? Some people said, Fujifilm's got too many darn cameras. You know, this is just an... And I actually kind of, not literally, but I kind of thought that too before reviewing this camera. Listen, Fujifilm... I don't work for Fujifilm. I don't have any affiliate links. I don't sell anything. I thought that basically kind of the same thing until I tested out this camera. But the nature of what this is, it's really is a perfect harmony of what everybody wanted. Perfect ergos, fully articulating display, IBIS, robust, usable, touch to autofocus point selection. I'm trying to think of anything else. That really... This is what people have been asking for from Fujifilm for a long time. Really compact, incredible ergos, touch to autofocus point selection, which I find so very useful. IBIS, fully articulating display for vlogging, and this is what people have been asking for. This is it. And I was really, truly quite impressed over what I was expecting out of this camera, even though I knew its specs. It's like same sensor, same display as the X-T4. Okay, great ergos, you know, kind of like the XH1. Yeah, okay. But the totality of what I shoot everything aperture priority, and unless it's product photography and tabletop, then I shoot manual. The program dial doesn't bother me. I mean, it might as well not be there for me personally, but I mean, I know a lot of people would actually switch on that. Of course, you do have 4 functionality buttons for actually setting custom menu functions. I myself would not use those, but I can see a lot of people actually using that. I would not, but it's important to actually talk about that. Well, I made a video about this camera a few days ago and asked people what they wanted me to say about this camera. I mean, I answered all your questions on that, and I fully have gone top, bottom, front, back on this camera, and I do consider this camera to be a 9 out of 10, and it is the culmination of what people have been asking for. Does it have a single card slot? Yes, it does. Does it have a million buttons on it like the X-T4? No, of course it does not. You could not, of course, make this camera this size and stick the battery that's in the X-T4 in this camera either. So... Are you going to be able to do an enormous amount of vlogging without having a spare 2 or 3 batteries in your pocket? No, of course not. You have to be honest to what it is. But then the camera would be a lot bigger. The Rode Mini mic and this camera, a few batteries and a few card slot and a few SD cards. This is actually, I've never had or used a more perfect travel camera than this. This is the perfect daily camera to take out with you. I really do mean that emphatically. But once again, the X-T3 is on sale for the same price right now. For how long, I don't know. So that's another point of considerations. You have to ask yourself that subjective question. So, but the X-T3 does not have IBIS. It does not have the fully articulating display that this camera does. It does not have that. Doesn't have the IBIS, nor does it have the ergos. The ergos on this camera are extremely nice. And no, even using the 16-55 f2.8, which is a really fat lens all the way to the base of the mounting ring, and of course I don't have gorilla fingers or gorilla hands, but no, was not getting my knuckles scraped with that lens on this camera. Anyway, I hope that answered all your questions, and I did a thorough review of the XS10, which I definitely did. I will have no regrets about that. And thank you so much for watching. Okay? Peace out. Wait for it. Wait for it. Fujifilm.